Really sharp.
Yeah. Like Piglet's teeth. Hey folks, welcome back. It is the big barn build, and today we're going to do a bit of start to finish transformation, we hope. We've got 3 hours. We're going to take it from this to this. So as you know, we've been working our way through the barn with all of our I-joists, and the majority of that is now complete and ready for floorboards above. This is our corner snug, our lounge, and we are going to use slightly different timbers for here. We're going to be using regular 9x2 or 220mm solid joists, and we're going to hangers on either side. So this is a bit of a start to finish for anyone who might be needing to do something similar. So let me show you the materials and then we'll make a start. So we brought all of our material to here. This is C16 9x2 or 220x45mm timber. Now we're going to be doing some video content around C16 versus C24 versus engineered and those sort of topics in the next week or so. However, for us, this is absolutely adequate. This is a ceiling, so it's not actually a huge load-bearing space up there. It might be a bit of loft storage, but we are going to put them at 400 centres, and that's more than adequate. Now, the difference between us doing C16 or C24 didn't make too much difference on this span. So we're well within the range of using either. So C16 was good for us, and it means we can use British grown timber as well. It's not being imported. First things first, I need to get this wall taped, because anywhere where our timber is going to be sandwiched against that OSB, we want to make sure that all of our joins, nail holes are all nicely tidied up. So we're at the point where we can get our timber and our hangers ready, and we're going to do that down on the ground. On the long stretches, we just made sure that all the hangers are on. It just makes things a lot easier. So we're going to do all the layout. Actually, I tell a lie, Tom's done all the layout. 400 centres all the way along. What I've been doing is just bending them back in, and when they're packaged, they're really splayed out, and this bulges down and it just messes everything up. Now these are so thin that we're not going to need to route a notch on the timber at all on the actual joist, because we found it sits pretty flush anyway, and because our walls get counterbattened out for a surface cavity, the plasterboard doesn't really carry on onto this timber that much anyway. Now it might look like we're just going to be bolting this straight onto an OSB wall if you haven't been following the build, but behind this OSB, which is an OSB with an airtight film on it, we've actually got structural glue lamb blocking between all of our studs. I like your little note to me on the end there. Subtle. Don't bloody put the wrong hanger here.
Don't be tempted.
Let's start from this corner here, and you can see that at this point, going that way, we're onto the I-joists, and we're going to have one final I-joist, which is going to sit here, which is where there's a small partition wall above, separating a bedroom from this loft space. So that I-joist will probably go on, well, it will go on to the end of this solid timber, which, although it's only a 220mm timber, will put a bit of blocking above. Quick look at how we're setting up the laser. So looking across onto our engineered joist, you can see that green, or you might not be able to, but there's a green laser there just touching the bottom of that hanger. Now the difference between this ceiling and the ceiling in the annex over the other side is we're going to be dropping down to the 220mm joists as soon as you get into the room. So the ceiling will be exactly the same anywhere you go in the building, but upstairs, the loft space will have a 3-inch or a 75mm step down from our 300mm joist down to what our new solid timber joist will be in here. The benefit of that is we'll end up with a bit more storage space in the loft.
we go. You go right up in the air.
Will it go? Will it blend? Oh, they're sharp, those hangers.
Really sharp.
Yeah. Like Piglet's teeth. Like Piglet's teeth. No. You silly gun. See, that went all the way in. Right, so after a good deal of nailing and bolting and screwing, we're all set. We're now going to get the laser measure in the pocket of each hanger and measure across. Now, you know, in an ideal world, every one of these would be the same and we'd cut them all at once, but it's not an ideal world. So we'll write them all down. One we'll cut, one we'll measure, and then we'll just cut and we'll put them down in kind of sequential order on the floor and we'll lift them all up at once.
I'll be interested to see if yours says that.
I'll tell you what, I'll measure from my side back at you. We'll see, play a game of snap. If I could hold it square. 4178.
Yeah, you're 3 mil long. Oh, I thought we were 5 and 4.
I'm
5 minus.
I'm 3 mil longer than you. Well,
Probably real long.
lucky, lucky me. Four 178.
Ooh, 4177, let's say.
Oh yeah. Well, it beats the tape measure, whichever one's right.
Yeah.
Should we fit one, just to make sure we're happy?
Yeah. We'll cut the base as we go.
Uh-huh. We can lift and gunk, can't we, as we...
Yeah. He's interfering with the laser.
In? Well, that didn't take too long at all. We started after lunch, so we had about 3 hours in that to get all of the hangers done, all the joists in, and then tomorrow's job, first thing, will be to get the noggins in. We're going to do 2 in here. We're actually on the borderline between only needing 1, but I think it makes sense to do 2 just to stiffen everything up. And we've got lots of nice offcuts because these are 4.3 and a 4.8 metre off of 4.8 metre length. So we can get noggins out of each of these, plus I've got a spare length to run down this side. So I'll give you a quick look up there, but it's definitely feeling more like a room now rather than a corner of a barn. Oh, and you might notice the windows have grown. I didn't film that, but here's a little time lapse I shot on my phone. So I went through with the router and zipped out the overhanging OSB. So nothing's nailed off yet, and we'll do the same as we've done elsewhere, and we'll just put a little skim of adhesive in here just to stop any squeaks. But everything's looking good. And actually, although we went through and crowned all these to make sure that they were, if there was any slight crown on the timber, we put it up. There was barely anything on any of them, so they were pretty consistent all the way through. One we had with a little bit of a twist in the end, just where there was a knot, so we've used that one for noggins, but everything else was really quite consistent. So pleased with how straight everything's come out, and then we'll get the noggins in tomorrow, stiffen it all up. Once we've got our final eye joist in here, we're just waiting for some extra hangers. Once that's in, I'll just sister one of our solid joists to it, and that will create a little step down into this loft. You wouldn't even notice it really, because we'll build our wall, our upstairs wall, on the edge. So there won't be a step as such. It will just be a little lip down into this storeroom / loft space. And all of this will be where the solar panels go, or half of the solar panels at some point. But that's for another time. Good morning, we're back in the snug, and believe it or not, one day this will be a nice light airy room, but it's actually looking a bit gloomy, but we'll crack on with it. The sun might come out and let a little bit of light through. Now we're onto the noggins, and I'll go through quickly what the requirement is. So going off span tables, anything over 2.5 meters, you need to have a noggin down the middle, or blocking, to keep all these from spreading and just stiffen up the whole floor, or ceiling in this case. If you go over 4.5 meters, that's when you need to start having 2 rows. Now we're at 4.17-ish, but we're going to do 2 anyway. We've got the timber here, lots of offcuts, we're going to use them up. So we're going to come a third of the way in on each side and get those in. But first things first, just realised we never did all the nailing. So I'll get the compressor started, and we'll nail off all of these hangers, get them all nicely fixed in place, and then hopefully we can just have a regular couple of lines down the middle. So it doesn't look any different at all, but that is it, done, all nailed off, solid both sides, and they're all nice and plumb now. Now I'm going to eat my words, because this is literally just a loft space, and half of it will never even have storage in it. So we're just going to go for 1 noggin. We're at just over 4 meters, so well within the 1 noggin range. And it just means that we can snap a chalk line from here all the way through, beyond the camera, all the way through all those eye joists, and just have one nice row all the way through. I think we were probably just overthinking it. When we get to the other side, because the reason why this is only just over 4 meters is because we've got a big, thick 350mm wall either side, which has brought the bay, the width of the bay in a bit. Whereas when we get over to the annex, that is full-size bays, so they're 4.3, 4.4. So we'd definitely be doing 2 rows over there, and that also provides this space for the plant room, where all the ventilation units and other stuff will be. So that's the plan. We're going to get another chalk line up now. Tom's doing the blocking up here, I'll show you that, but that might have to wait for another video. So with all the noggins now in place, that whole end of the barn just feels so solid, and looking forward to getting some flooring down onto it this week. Pretty much now we can leave this whole end of the barn until windows are on site. So we've got a month or so where we can concentrate on upstairs and also the annex area. And we're getting one step closer to being able to start thinking about creating that service cavity by counter-battening over that green OSB. And that's the point when electrics can start, and then of course moving on to plasterboard. So it's all moving in the right direction. And I'm pleased that we've got to experiment a little bit between the solid joists and the engineered joists, and I think in the coming weeks we'll probably do a bit of a reflection back on that and just see what we thought worked best and pros and cons of each. So if you've got any questions on that one, sit them down in the comment section below. As always, thank you to James Jones, our sponsor, for the timber stage of this build. But that's it. Remember, if you can, do it yourself, and we'll see you next time.